Now we look into infeasible start Newton's method. The previous case, the Newton's method that we were having was, it started from a feasible point and then we continued iterating through the feasible point to achieve the optimum. But now we are starting from outside. So uh, we can run a similar analysis to what we did uh, in the last time. We can write down the optimality conditions: ax star equal to b and del fx star plus A transpose nu star equal to 0 from the KKT conditions for equality. And now we assume that uh, we have a point x which is outside the uh, feasible region, but it is in the domain of the function, the objective function. And now we have to find out the new update, the Newton step, the new Newton step, because uh, now we are starting from outside, so the Newton step is different here. Um, so to do that, we use the basic idea of what the Newton step was. So we say that uh, we move by Newton step and we reach at the optimal. So that is, from our initial point we move in the direction of the Newton step and we reach the optimal. And now we substitute this value in the KKT conditions. So now we have a x plus delta x equal to b, and here actually this is an approximation, because this is what we wish to do. So now if we substitute x star in this expression, we have del f of x plus delta x plus A transpose, and I assume that nu star is the uh, optimal dual, that is W. So I have the dual optimal here, almost equal to 0, because x star is the because x plus delta x is an approximation, so this is approximately 0. And now we apply the first order condition, the first order Taylor approximation for this del f x plus delta x. So we have del f of x plus del square f of x delta x plus A transpose W equal to 0. So this is the these two equations form the um, optimality condition for the new Newton step. Writing down in the matrix form, we have del square f x A transpose A 0 delta x W giving del Ax minus b. Now comparing it with the previous optimality condition that we had, the only difference is that this term is now Ax minus b. Initially it used to be 0. So if we have an x which is in the feasible region, this is 0. So that means it is exactly that same previous problem that we had. algorithm that we are going to see is a primal dual algorithm. A primal dual algorithm is something which in which uh, both the primal variable and the dual variable, both of them are updated to reach the optimal point, um, and that is something like that is going to happen here. So the Newton step itself has a primal part and a dual part. So previously the Newton step had only the primal part, the delta x, but now we have a primal part and a dual part. So uh, before that, uh, we define we define um, y. Y is the y is the vector which is a concatenation of the primal variable and the dual variable. So x is the primal variable, nu is the dual variable. So when we concatenate them, we get v. So basically x is an m-dimensional vector, n-dimensional vector, and nu is a p-dimensional vector. So y is a n plus p dimensional vector. So it is a concatenation of x and nu. And now we define residue, primal residue and dual residue. So we have dual residue, R dual, which is a function which takes in the value of y, that is this vector, and it produces it produces the residue at the dual. So residue is something which is which conveys how close we are to the optimal point. It is um, similar to lambda in our previous case, the Newton's decrement. In this case, R dual is the residue of the dual, which works for the dual, and there is R primal of y which works for the primal. So R dual is a function. So it is defined as follows. So instead of writing y, we can write x and nu. So R dual is defined as del f of x plus A transpose nu. R primal of x of nu is defined as Ax minus b. Now this totally makes sense, because if we reach the optimal point, we have x star and nu star, and nu star is w, and so, or rather, yeah, we can just see that this is just delta of f of x star plus A transpose nu star, which is 0. This is 0 because of the KKT that we are solving, this expression. And the second one is because of Ax star equal to b. So like if Ax star equal to b, then this is 0. So primal residue is 0 when we reach optimal. In fact, primal residue is 0 for all x which are feasible, not only optimal. So the moment we start this algorithm, is starting from a point which is outside the feasible region. When we reach the feasible region, after that, at that point, this R primal goes to 0, and all the steps following that step, the R dual reduces and it finally approaches 0. Concatenate R dual and R primal also to have a variable called the residue, which is r, which takes in y and produces y is an n plus p vector, and r of n plus p is also an n, r of y is also an n plus p vector, and this is a concatenation of r dual and r primal. So so the thing we did earlier, we can do it in the residue fashion as well, that is setting the first derivative. Like now what we would like to discover what is the direction, the best direction to move, similar to x and t in the previous case. What is the best direction to move in this case, because now we are now we have a primal and a dual as well. So to do that, we can write the expression of our residue. So we have ry plus ry, and the next step is, suppose it is y plus z, so we have the next residue as r of y plus z. And what we do is we do a linear approximation, a linear approximation of this residue. So we get ry is approximately ry plus dry z, where dry is a matrix which has partial derivatives of elements of ry with respect to y. So we call this as r hat of y plus z, just an approximation. And now now that we have this, we want the next step, that is the residue or the next step. So we are at some point and we want to take the most optimal step, and this is the first derivative approximation. So what we want is that the first derivative approximation of the next step has a zero residue, that is this expression goes to zero. This is exactly what we did in the previous case as well, right? We calculated the first derivative, and we said we calculated the first derivative approximation, and we said that the approximation is almost equal to our optimal point. So that is, so we are doing for the same for the residue. Now we setting the residue to zero. So what we obtain is dryz equal to minus ry, and now we define a variable delta ypd, which is defined as the z such that this condition holds. This condition holds. So delta ypd is the most optimal most optimal direction in which we would like to move, and delta ypd has the information for both the dual as well as the primal step. Now delta ypd is itself a concatenation of delta xpd and delta nu pd, where delta xpd is the primal step, Newton step, and delta nu pd is the dual Newton step. So now what we can do is we can use this expression of derivative to see that. So like if we expand this in terms of all dou by dou y, and we do that, what we get is a matrix. So this is d of ry. D of ry is del square fx a transpose a 0, and we have z here. So z is just delta ypd, and delta ypd is delta xpd delta new pd. This is equal to ry, and ry is equal to delta fx plus a transpose new ax minus b. Ry is the previous residue, not the previous residue, the residue at the present step. This is by the definition of the residue. And now we have an A transpose here, V here, new here, so we can move that. So, and this is this multiplication happens like this. So this del square fx times delta xpd plus A transpose times delta new pd, and we have a new times A transpose here, so we can move this new to with this new pd to obtain this. We have delta new pd plus new equal to negative of del fx ax minus b. This is new plus this ax minus b is the it is the primal residue, that is R primal, and this variable is the this is R primal. This matrix is more clear, so this is R primal, this is R dual. So now result, norm of the residue reduces in the Newton direction. So norm of the residue is ry norm. This reduces in the Newton direction. So in the previous case we used the lambda, the decrement, for monitoring our changes and working out our line search and all. But here that is not possible. Lambda is a function of f. So since we are outside the feasible region, it is not possible. So an alternate measuring system can be devised with the help of the norm of the residue. So we'll see that the norm of the residue actually reduces in the direction of the Newton step. So consider the previous residue to be ry, and the new residue after taking the Newton step let it be r of y plus t delta ypd, and now to monitor the change, the norm, we care about the norm, and to monitor the change we differentiate this with respect to t, and the norm is root of norm squared, so it is root of ry plus t delta y pd squared. If we differentiate this, rather I should write this later. I have 1 by 2 root r y plus t delta y pd and d by dt of y plus t delta y pd norm squared by chain rule. And by further chain rule I have so I can keep, or rather I'll solve this part. So I have this part is 2 times r of y plus t delta y pd transpose times differential of the residue. So this is differential of residue times delta y pd by chain rule. And now I put t as 0, so I have 1 over 2 root times 2, there is a negative, okay, no, times 2 r y transpose d ry delta y pd, and this term d ry delta y pd is minus of ry. So this is 1 over root ry norm square ry transpose ry negative. This is negative of ry second norm. So this is what it means. Our Newton direction is exactly the direction in which the residue norm 2 residue reduces. Now we see a property called full step feasibility. So suppose if we start from a point which is outside the feasible set x, and now we have to move the Newton step. So suppose the primal Newton step is delta x in t, the same as delta x pd, and so this is the way to move. We have x and then we multiply this with some constant t, and then this will be the updated step. Now suppose if x is not, so x was initially x was not in the feasible set, so ax equal to b does not satisfy. But once we move the new point, this is the new point, and this satisfies b if t equal to 1. Why? Because a x plus delta x in t equal to b by construction, like that. It is the way that we have constructed the delta x in t by using the first order approximation. So what we are saying is that if t is 1, then the point jumps to a feasible the point jumps into the feasible state feasible region. And once we jump into the feasible region, then we do not move out. And suppose if t is not 1, suppose t is not 1 or t is less than 1, then the updated, so this is the primal step. So uh, this is the primal step r plus the updated primal step. So we have the updated primal step as ax plus delta x and t. Sorry, the primal step is ax minus b. This is by definition of the primal step. It is a times our present step minus b. Minus b. So this is just ax minus b plus a times delta x and t, and this is delta x and t by definition is, sorry, t times delta x and t, and delta x and t is ax minus b. A times delta x and t is ax minus b. So we have ax minus b times 1 minus t as the r primal updated, and ax minus b is uh, the previous residue, because we are starting from a point x which is outside. So ax minus b will be the previous residue. So we have r times 1 minus t. So after each step, the residue reduces by a factor of 1 minus t, and so it will, so r pri it goes to 0 by each with each step it multiplies by a constant which is less than 1, so it goes to 0 ultimately. But if we start, if we have t is equal to 1, then in the first step itself, the point that we are looking at, it immediately moves into the feasible region. And look at the algorithm of this Newton method. So given x is outside, x may be outside the feasible region, but it should be inside domain of f. Nu some epsilon, alpha which is in 0 to half, beta which is in 0 to 1. Repeat the following. So first is compute the primal and dual steps, that is delta x and t and nu nt. Delta xpd and nu pt is the same notation, same thing. Delta nu pd or nu nt, and then line search for t, line search on R2. This is our new metric. This is the new variable on which we are dependent on. So initialize t as 1, and then while the residue is greater than 1 minus alpha t previous residue, new residue is greater than 1 minus alpha t previous residue, and update t as beta t, and after finding out t, update x, update primal and dual. So primal is updated as and do this until x equal to b and the residue reduces below epsilon. The difference between the previous algorithm and this one is that we are also calculating the dual. So this is a primal dual algorithm that was focused on primal itself. And another difference is that the the distance function that we are using is now r, the residue. Previously we used the decrement, Newton decrement, but Newton decrement cannot be calculated in this case. I mean, it does not capture the intuition, because it does not capture the intuition of distance between the point and the optimal. So we use residue. So that's the difference. We look into the convergence of this algorithm. So we have some assumptions and these are the same, almost the similar assumptions as we had in the previous case. The We have the closure assumption, but here the uh, f is not assumed to be closed. In fact, we have r as the closed function. So if s is equals to the so if s equals to the set of all x and news such that x is in domain f and x naught nu naught, then this set is closed. This set is basically the set which is good. Like, we would like to be the residue of this set is less than the residue from where we are starting. So this is the set we would like to move into. So that set is closed. That sublevel set is closed. The second assumption is similar to the KKT inverse norm, the inverse KKT norm boundedness. We have a similar thing here. We have d r. So this time we have the residue. We have seen that d r of x and nu is the KKT matrix. So its inverse norm is the norm of its inverse is uh, del square f x. We have already seen this. Less than equal to k. The third assumption is the Lipschitz assumption, that is for x and nu and x tilde nu tilde in S. We have an equivalent Lipschitz formulation here, that is dr x nu minus dr x tilde nu tilde is less than equal to L times x nu minus x tilde nu tilde. So this residue itself is some sort of a derivative. This residue itself some sort of a first order derivative kind. It gives us a sense of first order derivative of f. So when we are doing a d on the residue, what we are getting essentially here is a second order. um, we get a sense of a second order, the Hessian of the function f, and in the original case we have Hessian here, and so it is just equivalent to that. Now we move on to proving a basic inequality. So let y be the x and nu, the concatenation in S, and residue at y not equal to 0, then y and t is equal to x and t and nu and t, and define t max as this step which is infimum of the smallest step such that y plus t delta y and t is not in S. Now the inequality that we wish to prove is this: ry plus t delta y and t less than equal to 1 minus t ry plus k square L by 2 t square norm ry square for t between 0 and minimum of 1 and t max. So to start with this, we start with the residue at y plus t delta y and t. And this is equal to r of y plus integral 0 to 1 dr of y plus tau t delta y and t t delta y and t d tau, the integral expansion. And now we add and subtract t dr y delta y and t. So now we have this term plus dr y plus tau t delta y and t minus dry this whole thing times t delta y and t t tau. And let us call this term as E. So now we have ry plus t times, this is minus of ry, so minus ry plus E, which is ry, or rather just 1 minus t ry plus E. Now we can bound the E. So E is given as 0 to 1, this thing, just copy it from here. uh, so now we can bound the norm of E. So if you take the norm of E, your norm of 0 to 1, the integral times t delta y and t d tau. This is the bracket thing. Now t delta y and t can be taken out by Cauchy-Schwarz. So this is less than or equal to t delta y and t norm of the integral d tau. And now by triangle inequality, the norm can be sent inside the integral. So now we have t delta y and t times integral of norm of dr y plus tau t delta y and t minus dr y d tau. Okay, after this, now we have the Lipschitz approximation. Now we can apply the Lipschitz approximation here. So what we get is this term is less than or equal to t delta y and t 0 to 1 integral L of uh, tau t delta y and t, right? And this is equal to, now we can move out t and delta y and t again. So we have t delta y and t square, rather t square delta y and t square uh, and integral 0 to 1 of L of L times, so we can move on the L as well. We have a tau square by 2, which is half, so L by 2. So that's all. And now delta y and t can be written again in terms of d of ry. So this is L by 2 t square dry inverse ry norm squared. And now we apply the approximation. No, the bounding, the bounding of the KKT's norm. So that is, this term is bounded. The norm of this term is bounded. So now we have this thing less than or equal to L by 2 t square norm of dry inverse 2 norm squared and ry norm squared, and this is bounded by k. So this is kl k square L by 2 t square, this term. This is a bound on E, the norm of E. Now for t from 0 to uh, minimum of 1 or t max, we have r y plus t delta y and t equal to 1 minus t ry plus e by equation 1, and this is less than equal to, if we apply the rather rectangular inequality, sorry, triangle inequality, we have ry 2 plus e2 is 1 minus t ry plus k square l by 2 t square ry square, applying the bound of e here, and this is the inequality we wanted. In the previous case, we have seen that the Newton's method had two phases of convergence, the quadratically convergent phase and the damped Newton phase. So in the damped Newton phase, we had step size less than 1 progressively decreasing, um, and yeah, and in the quadratically convergent phase, uh, we had a step size which is constant, and uh, we moved quadratically fast to the optimal point. So let us see what happens in this case uh, here uh, in the quadratically convergent phase. So first we see the quadratically convergent phase. Uh, so in this phase we have the residue, the norm of residue less than equal to 1 over k square L. In the other phase we have the norm of residue greater than 1 by k square L. So if this is the case, then now we use our basic inequality, and we can see that this term so 1 by k square L is greater than this, so k square L will be less than or equal to 1 over r by, and if I substitute this here, I have 1 minus t ry plus k square by t square times ry norm. There is a norm squared here. Yeah. So this is just 1 minus t plus t square by 2 ry 2 ry plus y plus is the new new step or the new location. Now now t is defined as minimum of 1 and t max. This step is the minimum of 1 or t max. This is done in this way because it is convenient to be used for both the stages, both the phases. And we'll notice that if we are using this in the quadratical phase, the t can only be equal to 1. For t only be equal to 1, we should have t max to be something which is greater than 1, and t max cannot be less than 1. Why? Because if t max is less than 1, then this entire term is less than 1, and um, so if this term is less than 1, then we have the new location, the new residue better than the older residue, and this contradicts the definition of Tmax, because Tmax is a step, Tmax is the smallest step such that we move out of the region where we get a better residue. This is the definition of Tmax. It is a minimum such that y plus the new location is not in S, where S is the set where we have a better residue. But here we are not getting a better residue, so it gives a contradiction. So the only possible value of Tmax is Tmax greater than 1, and therefore T has to be 1. So all these steps are full steps in this quadratically convergent phase. And now we can plug in T equal to 1 in this inequality. So what we have is ry plus equal to if I have t equal to 1 here, I have k square L by 2 ry square by ry norm square, and if I multiply, this is less than equal to, so this is for one update. For multiple such updates, if I just multiply with k square L by 2 on both sides, I have ry plus less than equal to k square L by 2 ry 2 whole square. This is for one update. So for k updates, we have this term less than or equal to k square L ry 2 by 2 to the 2 to the k, and since we have ry, the norm of residue, less than equal to 1 by k square L, this is less than equal to 1 over 2 to the 2 to the k. So this says that we have a quadratic convergence of the residue, the norm of the residue. It quadratically converges to 0. That is what it says. And now we to show that the iterates converge, it is sufficient to show that the iterates are a Cauchy sequence, because Cauchy sequence in Rn converge. So we have ry less than or equal to 1 over k square L, and let y plus denote the kth iterate after y. So now we have yk minus y less than or equal to the t is 1, the step is 1, so this can be written as y plus k minus y plus k minus 1. So what I'm basically doing is adding and subtracting with all intermediate terms and applying triangle law. And t is 1, so t disappears, and this is k minus 1 plus, sorry, minus k minus 2 goes up to y plus minus y. And now these terms have a meaning in terms of the derivative, which is, this is exactly dr of y plus k minus 1 inverse times r y plus k minus y 1. This comes from the definition of the residue. And now these terms, these differential terms are uh, less than equal to k by our KKT matrix assumption. So this is less than equal to k times r so this term is still there, this term is still there, and we have taken out this and substituted k there. And now these terms ry up to ryk minus 1, we have seen that they are any step, any ry is bounded by half times the residue is bounded by half. So we can apply that here. So we'll have this term less than or equal to, so if, for example, if this is the first term, so it will be bounded half times half to the 2 to the k minus 1 times k minus 1 bounded by that number, and the first one will be, so this one will be bounded by half, and so on. So this is k times, I take out the first term, sorry, first term cannot be bounded, first term I can take out, and rest of the terms can be bounded in terms of the first term. So, and I'm left with the summation with halves. Now this term is like a broken GP. It is a GP with ratio half, but it does not have all the terms. It has only those terms which are like 2 to the I minus 1, where I is an integer, only those terms. So this is bounded by that, bounded by the GP 1 half, 1 over 4, 1 over 8. So this term is less than or equal to 2 times, that is the summation of the GP, which is 2 times the term. So this summation goes to 1. I mean, this summation is bounded by 1, so this summation is less than or equal to 2 times k r by 2. So this difference is bounded, and therefore so this difference is bounded, and as k goes to infinity, as k goes larger and larger, the residue goes to 0. So uh, we can find as small gap as we want between the between y of k and y for large case. So that's why it is a Cauchy sequence. So yks form a Cauchy sequence, and yks form a Cauchy sequence, so they converge. I'm not doing the analysis for the damped case, but it is similar to what we have seen in the previous normal Newton method. That is the value of t, it decreases, and the residue also, the thing here is that with each step, if we are in the damped case, then the residue decreases with each step with some amount. Like we cannot have we cannot have like same residue even after uh, progressing with one step. Like that is not possible. So that's about the damped case.